Alright, you can probably tell by the tracks in the grass that through the use of a garden wagon and a wheelbarrow and 2 of the 3 women living in my house, we were able to wrestle this thing back here. Alright, one of the first things that we've got to do is we've got to cut down our 2x4s, and cutting them into 36-inch and 31.5-inch pieces to make the square vertical boxes. Alright, we got the squares cut out. We're making a 35 by 36-inch box, and you're just, in the case of these plans, they just tell you to toenail them together, so that's what we're going to do. But I've got these fancy squares. This is from the metalworking side of the shop, but I thought it would be fun to try them out and see how they worked with big 2x4s. They're made so that you can have tabs on the back of them, which I do, which is on the bottom of that square. And that way, when you clamp everything together, not only are your corners 90 degrees, but the edges of your pieces are all coplanar. So in theory, we'll have a nice flat square when we're done. We'll see if it works with wood as good as they work with metal. All right, the next bit of joy is covering each of these 4 squares with some 1/2-inch hardware cloth. It's fun. You might want to wear gloves or a suit of armor, whichever you decide. So we've gotten the hardware cloth on the dividers, and now this is actually the bottom of the bin, and we are putting the bottom stiles, I don't know what you want to call them, the bottom rails on it. I've just got them roughly clamped into place, and the way these plans are made, we're going to drill a 1/2-inch hole, and we're going to sink our big carriage bolts through there and just kind of loosely tighten them up. Loosely tighten them up? Tighten them up loosely? We're going to not crank on them. Mind your measurement. Otherwise, your carriage bolt is going to go right into your 2x4 like I did there. That's not going to work. Okay, we got the 2 bottom rails on. Now we got to flip it and put the 1 top rail on. Alright, that wasn't too difficult at all. I think the key to that is making sure that in the very beginning your vertical dividers, as long as you make them square and as long as you make all the pieces of wood the same length so that everything measures the same, then it all goes together fairly well. So now the next thing I got to do is I got to put a big piece of hardware cloth on the back of this. So let's get to wrestling it. All right, this is where it starts to get a little fun. I'm not really sure why the lumberyard sent me rough cut 2x6s, which are pretty close to actually a 2x6. So I cut those into 36-inch lengths, and then I sanded them, and then the directiones that I got said that I should cut the ones on the end to 4 3/4 inches in width, and then the offcuts from that I put on the back side here to make a rear rail, so that way when I put my slats in, my slats will go in between those 2 pieces there. Okay, we're kind of at the point of diminishing returns right here. You can see this really pretty beefy rear slat rail, I guess there. Hold on a second. Then you can see on the next one, we're a little smaller piece of wood, And that one is a very old piece of pine that came out of the Asian room when we were taking some trim pieces down that we found. And then of course the piece in the back is just a piece of pine, but it should retain the rail just fine. It's just going to keep them to flipping back. So now we're just going to cut these 1x6s into slats, and because my measurements are done in the approximate method that I wrap presents, each one of these is going to be a slightly different width. All right, so we got the front slats done for 2 and 75% of it. I need 2 more slats for the end there, but I don't have any 1x6s that are long enough, so I'm going to totally redneck this. And I've taken the remnants from my offcuts from those pieces and I've glued them together. They don't really have to hold a whole lot. We'll see. I've butt jointed them, and then I've got a backer on it, and we're going to put some pin nails in it, and I'm pretty sure it'll be okay. So now all I have to do tomorrow is make a lid for it. Okay, we're back the next day. You can see I burned a little midnight oil to get the upper lid completed, and it is a lot of scrap wood that I've got just laying around the shop. So you can see there's some like furring strips, I guess you could call them, that are joining that front 2x4 with another back like a 1x2, and there's just a combination of brackets holding that together. Then you can see I've got a prop rod, so if you want to get into the bins, you lift it up by that center handle, and then you can pull that prop rod out, and that will hold everything up so it's not falling on your head. Super simple. The panels, they are the smoked polycarbonate. Those are 32-inch lengths, and I don't know what the deal is. There's 9 million panels at our local big box stores, and there was one piece of wiggle board. So I'll show you how I kind of segmented that up. So you can see over on your left, I just call them humps. I've got a 3-hump set, and then on the right I've got a 2-hump set, and those have just got those insulated roofing screws that are holding those down. So the solution I had was just to take my one piece of wiggle board and just to cut it up into various pieces where the panels are overlapping, and that way I'm holding them down. We're not making a weather-tight structure here. So now what we're doing is, and I'm not really sure how I feel about this. The plans are calling for a coat of shellac on everything. So, we're gonna do what we can. Of course, some of it's covered up, some of it's covered in, wire at this point. So we'll see, because hey, there's nothing else going on around here. And here we are, probably a can and 3/4 of shellac, and now we'll let it dry, which won't take too long. This is thirsty wood, and especially on the end grains, on the tops of the posts, like right there, tickle tickle, and right there, tickle tickle tickle. That stuff just drinks that up, because wood grain is it's like a bunch of little straws, and if the water goes in the end of the straw where the hole is. Same thing with grain, so it really soaks it up. So now we'll go get the site prepped, and then That might give us time to figure out how in the world I'm going to drag this thing out there. Alright, you can probably tell by the tracks in the grass that through the use of a garden wagon and a wheelbarrow and 2 of the 3 women living in my house, we were able to wrestle this thing back here. And there we are in its new home. So we will construct a, I don't know what you call it, just like a chicken wire holder for brown material. Because again, your fresh compost goes in the left-hand bin, then your aging holding compost goes in the middle bin, and then your finished compost will go in the right-hand bin. So anyway, that's my take on it. I'd probably do some things different. If you've built one of these and you've got some ideas, I'm sure we'd all love to hear them. Because like I keep saying, and I only say it because it's true, you guys are a lot smarter than I am when it comes to a lot of this stuff. So anyways, I'm James. This is Mrs. Rattlecan's house. And I think I'm going to go have some sort of a cold barley beverage. And remember, if I can do it, you can do it. Have a good one. Cheers.
If you enjoyed watching this episode of Mrs. Rattlecan's House, consider checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, and to get the latest updates on our progress, like us on Facebook. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.
Perhaps we should have some wine.